Final score at Celtic Park, despite what the graphic for this episode will tell you, it was Celtic 2, Dundee United 0 on Matchday 21 of this season's Scottish Premiership. Brydo, a result that takes us 16 points clear, at least at time of recording, at the top of the table. Your thoughts, or your initial thoughts on last night's result?
Yeah, I thought it was a really good performance, actually. I think it's, although not fully complete performance, which we've not had that many, it was closer to that than we've had for pretty much all season, really. So the first half in particular, I thought we were excellent. I thought we moved the ball far sharper, far better, against a really well organised and, highly confident Dundee United side. So it was a test. It was good to get the second goal, get it over the line, and then, we could relax without that. Kind of many games at Celtic Park we've seen in the years where you're one goal up and there's balls getting lumped into the box and there's a deflection, there's a penalty, there's something. So the second goal was a bit of a relief, and it was just great to get another 3 points in the bag. And obviously Rangers played tonight, but I said to you a few weeks ago, there, as far as this title goes, are irrelevant. I've seen a few comments after the show last week when I was saying that the league's done, we move on, and people are disputing that. That's up to them. Go and put £100 on Rangers to win the league, and if they're that confident that there's no over. So, it was just good to get the points and just do what we've been doing, doing enough to see the games through. And a few really good performances from people that have maybe been a bit not as consistent or not as good. So it was a really good watch and a really, 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 really cold Celtic Park.
Yeah, and I'll maybe ask you a wee bit more about that a bit later on in terms of the atmosphere and what was going on around the ground. But I know the talk, of course, in recent days, or at least since the St Mirren game on Sunday, was all about the manager's post-match comments. We covered it in detail on the weekly show on Monday, myself, James, Paddy and Maff, so no need to dwell on it too much. But my general take, and I'm keen for your own general take, is that a wee bit of a storm in a teacup, to be honest with you. I don't think there was a lot that Brendan Rodgers said that was wholly inaccurate. I think he's right to ask for patience. He's right to ask for trust in the team, given what they've achieved in recent times and what they continue to achieve and what they continue to do. Where I do think he got it wrong, and I've put this down in writing in an article on our site just now, is the calling of the singing of the KT song disrespectful. You really can't, within reason, can't be telling fans what to sing at any given time. And I think what happened there, it was an all-out defence of Greg Taylor by Brendan Rodgers. I think he just got carried away with it a wee bit and called the singing disrespectful. I don't think that was particularly good. But that aside, no biggie. It's dragged on a few days, and as we'll get to, there was a bit of humour in terms of addressing it last night. But what's been your general take in that episode, let's call
it? Mountain a molehill with what I would do, storming a teacup, whatever you want. The media jump on that, of course. Whenever a manager kind of challenges fans in any way, they jump on it. To me, it was unnecessary. I don't think he had to say much at all. He struck me as a person that's felt like his wife, the way he was talking that. So I just felt like he's obviously had a barney with the missus, and he's not a happy camper, and just decided to lash out at anything that he wanted to. I'm obviously a big supporter of Rodgers, and I like how he carries himself, and I like how he conducts himself. I had no problem with him when he left. I had a problem when he did leave, but I just felt like we're all on the same kind of page, and it just came out of nowhere in a week where all the pressure should have been on the Rangers manager for not being able to get a result at Easter Road. We've hardly heard anything. The social media is filled with this, and it is rubbish. And to be fair, I think that's a line drawn under it now. Last night was actually quite funny. People were taking bets on what song was going to get sung next. Is it Stuart Armstrong, Scotty Sinclair, Edward? The Martin O'Neill one, I think that was a wee dig just at him, a wee bit. But like you say, fans pay their money, and they turned out in conditions like last night. They're allowed to sing songs about players that are, to some of them in that age group, a proper idol for them. Maybe not so much like us, we're a bit older, but some of the young team down there, Kieran Tierney, epitomised exactly who they were, and there's talks on coming back, and let's be honest, Greg Taylor, he went off a sore nose, didn't he? So it's not necessarily that. That's just a coincidence. I don't think Greg Taylor thinks anything of it at all. So I don't even know why that got brought up. As as far as the murmurs and stuff about playing the ball backwards, it's not about playing the ball backwards that people moan about. It's when there's a very obvious pass forward. That's the issue. There's a pass inside or a pass to somebody's feet in the middle of the park to go to a centre half instead of a centre mid. And then, the amount of times Kasper Schmeichel gets the ball at his feet, we talk about how good his distribution is. It's because he gets the ball quite a lot. So there is a picture there too. So, yeah, although I wasn't bothered about it, I don't think it was necessary. And I think now he's kind of drew a wee line under it and he made a wee joke about it as well and said that's the kind of par for the course or that's the dance you've got to do at a club like Celtic. And it was quite funny last night. And fans have the right to sing whatever they want to sing. He's a passing guy. He will leave again. We will keep going to the games. So we can sing and do whatever we want in that regard as long as it's within reason, I suppose. But certainly not to hurt the feelings of a player that gets paid whatever or he's not signing a new contract either. Greg Taylor, no sympathy for him. I mean, it's deal with it, man. Or be better.
Well, yeah, and I would say Greg Taylor's fine about it. I don't think he'd be getting too upset about anything, to be honest with you. And I think last night was almost the perfect resolve to all. As you say, the fans were dealt out all the old classics: Scotty Sinclair, Charlie McGrew, Edward, Larson, Martin O'Neill, as you say, and of course KT again. But the manager, when asked a couple of times in different interviews, a wry smile, shrugged it off, and we move on, and that's absolutely spot on. In terms of the game itself, then, Brydo, let's get to some of the action. Obviously, the manager's intention was to name the same lineup for the second successive game, but Nicholas Kuhn's pulled up in the warm-up. You might have seen some of the clips of it in terms of what happened, but he just seemed to pull something in his thigh, and that's the chat on it. No reports just yet as to how serious that is. He's had a couple of wee niggles in recent weeks, and I think the club and the manager have just been very careful with him because I think it's fairly clear at the moment he's star man. Top guy for Celtic, and I think with the big games coming up, particularly the young boys game and the importance of that, I don't think we can take any risks. And so Yang, my man, comes into the starting 11. What was your take on the team? I was pleased. Obviously, I'm always pleased that Yang starts, but I was pleased that McCowan got a successive start, another start, and Maeda. Those three guys that I've mentioned, let's hear your summary of how well they took their chances or not.
Yeah, sure. So I think my first point would obviously be the worry around Kuhn's injury. That is a concern. I think I agree with you that he's been our star man, and for him to not be involved last night in that wing, touching on obviously Yang's performance, the drop off, as hard as Yang is working, and as much as you love him, I'm not convinced. I don't think Indy's done anything to convince anybody, but there's perhaps that. There's a bracket of people thinking, he's got potential and it's there and it's just waiting to be unlocked. And then there's a bracket of people who are like, nah, he's had plenty of chances. He's just not got either the final ball or he's got quick feet, but he doesn't really do anything with it type thing. So I thought he'd done okay. I thought he worked really, really hard, Yang. I thought he tried to drive in the park a lot. And it kind of opened up a wee bit and we created a few wee chances from it. But I think for the most part, people are probably thinking that he didn't do enough. I'd say he didn't do enough. He done okay. I'm not saying he had a bad game. And he definitely tires as well. But nobody can actually say that he doesn't put 100% in. Maybe he's trying too hard. Sometimes you get that in the winger position. We've seen it with Mikey Johnson in the past and all that. They're desperate to make an impact. And sometimes the more chilled out player in that area of the park creates more. So yeah, I just don't think he's the answer for us. And I think we need to in the summer anyway be looking to have a better option. You may disagree because you're a big fan of him, but as far as Luke McCowan goes, I thought he had a really, really good first half alongside Engels. I thought Engels was superb. We might touch on that later. But both McCowan and Engels were perfect for that game because Dundee United were sitting so deep at the edge of their own box, as we see a lot through Scottish football. But McCowan and Engels, see their first one-touch passes between the lines with 5 yards, 6, 7, 8 yard passes at the edge of the box when there's lots of bodies. It's it's clever. It's not easy to do, but both of them execute it brilliantly and try to find the feet of like Maeda or each other or even McGregor or anything like that, the wingers, they were getting them all involved in the game in really short spaces. And to be honest, the first half is as well as we've played. I'd say as well as I've played since Leipzig, to be honest, regarding the difference in the points of attack, the variety we had in our offensive work, the combinations that we were making. We were wide, we were through the middle. It was a real good watch. Just didn't get the goals that we deserved in our play, I don't think. And obviously the focal point of that is Adam Maeda, and I'm a fan of his, as I think you were, I are. And I just think that sometimes in that position, Kyogo's not far away from this situation either. Is that just getting a run of goals, like just that confidence in sticking the ball in the back of the net. There's just something of it. He's not overly sure of himself what he's doing. But he linked the play up okay. I've seen a few people saying that he didn't link the play up. I thought he'd done reasonably well actually at that. But he just cuts this full-on figure of when he gets taken off, it's another game that I've got, and there's another game I've not scored or impacted maybe the game as much as I'd want to. So 3 different positions, 3 very different types of players, and possibly 3 different players who are at different situations in their Celtic career. McCowan looks like he's on the up. Ida looks like he's stagnated, and Yang, I think, looks as if he's not going to be able to make it to the level we need him to be at. So all of them will have gather different opinions from different people, obviously, but that's my take on those 3. And it's 3 players which find it difficult because they're not in the team every week. But like you said, there's Ida and McCowan. There's 2 games on the bounce that they're involved from the start. And I think McCowan definitely, he was the one that gained the advantage from playing twice in a row like that. He looked like the one that was taking his opportunity more than the others.
Yeah, I would agree pretty much with all of that, Brydo. And I think in Yang, I'm a fan. I'm well on record as saying I'm a fan, but I do think time is running out because I think he does have talent. But in this Celtic side, when you're coming in out the cold, you need to do more. You need to do more than the guy that's currently in the shirt. Otherwise, you'll fall back in the pecking order and might well be replaced. And that may well happen this month. I think there's no secret of the fact that the manager's looking for a winger. That guy might land tomorrow, and then he finds himself even further down. And Palmer's in the same boat, so we'll need to see what happens there. I think Luke McCowan has bought himself a bit more time, though. I think he's a guy that he's only just in the door, and I think he's shown in more than glimpses of the talent he's got and what he can add to this midfield. And just finally on Adam Maeda, I agree. I thought his link-up play was absolutely fine. I thought there was some good and clever touches in and around the box. But ultimately, a number 9 will always be judged on goals. And he himself knows that. And as you say, you can see in the body language that when the name goes up on the board or the number goes up after the hour mark, it's like the gloves come off and he trudges round the side. And you can see in the body language that he feels a bit disappointed with himself, but we'll need to see how it goes. But before we continue on, first of all, a big thanks to everyone who continues to join us in the live. Some great numbers here. A lot of the usual folks join us too in the chat. We've got Fred Williams, San Fran Celtic, Gio, Paul Allen, Gypsy King, Honor Permo, Colin Rogers, and various others. I also want to say a big shout out and a big thank you to George Lappin, who I met today. George is the fella who won the retro Celtic away shirt and the draw that we done at Christmas time. I met him for a wee bit today and just chatted generally on all things Celtic, and just a brilliant guy and really good to meet with him. So shout out to Gio there. And if you want to join Gio and many others who sign up for ad-free listening and early access to the weekly show, then visit the CelticExchange.supercast.com for how to do so. You can also click the link in the show notes as well. Brydo, the opening goal in the day comes in the 21st minute, and it's that man Dyson Maeda. I seen a mention earlier on, could he be a shout for Celtic's Player of the Year? Now, I've already covered the guy who should be getting it in terms of Nicholas Kuhn, and unless something dramatic happens, he will get it. But from Dyson Maeda's point of view, he's got 14 goals now and 6 assists in 29 games, so 20 goal contributions in 29 games. He's having one of his best seasons in a Celtic shirt, isn't he?
Incredible, really. I mean, at one stage, we were looking at the squad, and I thought that for Celtic to show real progress, then I think I said the players Taylor, Maeda, and maybe Abad at the time, I think it was, that those players would then need to be essentially our sub players and have better players than them in their positions for us to show real progress. and he always stay by the left. Taylor's kind of just stay the same. But Maeda's just went. I mean, I feel like we bore everybody by talking about his running, but it's, as everybody who's played the game, it's so easy when you're an attacking player anyway. Just I'll leave that to whoever to deal with. I'm scoring goals and setting goals up. I'm not getting dropped. But it's just this kind of, I suppose, humble nature about his game, and he just decides, no, I'm part of the team. And as any manager at any level, if you've got a player like that that's willing to work as hard as he does, it must be an absolute blessing, because they're very rare to do it and kind of both work in both the directions on the pitch. Has he got better at some of the stuff? I don't. He still does some crazy stuff. You know, he does some absolutely mental things on the football park, but the good far outweighs the bad in a heavy weight. And I think that both wingers are showing the way Rodgers plays that they get a lot of, the fruits of the labour of the team tend to fall at their feet, and the two of them are the ones that are taking the opportunities, as opposed to perhaps our two strikers. So they're not really doing it as what we would expect a number 9 to do, as you were mentioning earlier. But Maeda's he's just there. I mean, he just finds himself between the posts, at the back post or between the posts, and he's also now, I think what he has developed is a bit more composure, and he's I think his goal against what goal was it? The Rangers handed that goal where he takes that touch. Some think it was a bad touch. Some people will give him credit, but he scores that. And it's not only the number of goals he scored; they're big goals he's scoring as well, like in different times in different matches. So no better than the stunning equaliser against Bruges. So he's got some big moments in his Celtic career already, and he just seems to be an absolute machine. And I just expect that to kind of keep going. So no, you can't smile or do anything but smile when he's playing. Even when he does his crazy stuff, you're like, well, we've just got to accept that.
The crazy stuff's why we smile. That's part of the fun, Brydo. He's got you're right to say he's got big goals. I think it's 3 Champions League goals a season. Hat-trick against Aberdeen at Hampden in the League Cup semi-final, the big goal in the final itself. And you wouldn't bet against him to be the guy that could potentially score the goal against Young Boys that takes us through. He's having that kind of season, and long may that continue. But as I say, the standout absolutely is Nicholas Kuhn, just in terms of his stats, Brydo. 27 games, 16 goals and 11 assists. Therefore, 27 goal contributions in 27 games. Can't be bad, and he's having a brilliant season. We'll obviously pick up the Player of the Year chat much further down the track, in the season. But I think Kasper Schmeichel has also got to come into that conversation. So I think he's having a brilliant year. You'll have heard the start or seen the start last night. His 17th league clean sheet in 21 games. Frightening stuff, and again, long may that continue. But I know it's that solitary goal from Maeda that takes us into half-time at just 1-0. Do you think we were deserving of a wee bit more, and were you ever anxious coming out into the second half?
No, I wasn't anxious coming to the second half in that way. Maybe later, before we got the second goal, maybe it was going to be one of those nights. But the first half performance, I thought, was as good a performance as we've put in. The movement, like I was saying before, the kind of interplay between different areas of the pitch. I thought, like I said, Engels was frighteningly good in the first half. I'm hearing some people saying, we're only saying that because we're trying to boost his confidence, and he's only got 4 man of the matches at Celtic Park because he's trying to he's a break. Like it's not under 11s football where you need to keep tapping the shoulder and patting the head and say, "Well done, me man, you're a baller," like, and the boy's absolutely hopeless. I mean, he quite clearly his confidence is coming back. You could tell with the things that he's doing. He's taking the ball under pressure. He's not losing it. He was far more aggressive last night in his play. He's learning that. I mean, O'Reilly took that length of time, if not longer, to realise that too. He's earning the right to play. And when he is in his final third, his delivery, his set pieces as well were great. So I think Celtic, he was involved in that. McCowan was involved in it. Those 2 players were pivotal to the attacks. The fullbacks were getting on, particularly Johnson. There's a few good balls that went across. I think Ida will be annoyed that he didn't get on the end of, and that's maybe why he went in at 1-0, because we just didn't get ourselves in the positions I didn't expect or anticipate. Second half, it was much the same. Then Dundee United had a wee bit of a period in the game But yeah, as far as the first half goes, we definitely deserve to be more goals up, but sometimes you don't always get what you deserve, and we had to wait a bit longer before we got the second.
Yeah, we did. Just before I forget to mention it, an interesting point from Pat McLaughlin, and obviously it's been trialled and touted before about Dyson Maeda, but he's suggesting moving Maeda up front and getting that quality left winger in. And there's no comparison in terms of Maeda and a guy like Kyogo, and I would say even Ida, who are more natural strikers. But sometimes guys don't need to be the most aesthetically pleasing. I could imagine Dyson Maeda being really effective, just bombing about there doing his thing and just battering in goals and jogging back up to the halfway line and starting again. He's that kind of guy. And an interesting further point from Pat is that Larsson was 27 when Joe Venglos moved him right up to be the main striker. He did play some games on the wing, but I think it was quite early in his Celtic career when he found his feet in the centre-forward position. Anyway, we'll see what the manager decides, but there's no doubt he is keen to find someone else on the wings, and that might force his hand. Tell me this, Brydo, obviously a lot of chat about Kyogo. There's some strange stuff doing the rounds. You'll have seen that the official MLS website mistakenly, inverted commas, posted that he had signed for, I think it's Atlanta United, and have quickly scrambled to remove it. But there's some strange stuff going on there. They have signed another Japanese player by all accounts, and that was meant to dispel the rumours, but it doesn't seem to have. Can you possibly see Kyogo leaving in this window, given that we can't sign anyone for the next two Champions League games? So you can't sign a new guy for Young Boys or for Villa. Would Celtic potentially leave themselves with only one recognised striker getting into such huge games? Do you see him moving on?
I think I said at the end of last season or the pre-season that Kyogo didn't look like he was enjoying the football as much under Rodgers, and he just looked kind of similar to what he does maybe like just now. And I thought that he didn't necessarily suit how Rodgers wanted to play. And then it was proven wrong. I don't really know how, but it's not really. He's not playing terribly, but he's just not that main person at the minute. We're getting our goals from the two wing positions as we alluded to earlier, and Ida's not there yet. And the fact that he's not banging them in when he's starting the games, I would have to say that Celtic would be, unless they've got cover for the domestic games and then can play the next phase of the Champions League, then it could be something that they might wait and see if they qualify after the Young Boys game. And then if that's the case, it would only be the Villa game they were missing. Maybe he would move on. He's 28, 27, 28.
He's 30 a week on Monday, 20th of January.
I was more credit. He's a young looking guy. So Celtic, knowing Celtic, would maybe look at that and go, that could be interesting if we've got a replacement. And that may well happen. So I don't see it as a complete no-no. Do I want to sell him? No, absolutely not. I don't want to sell him. But could I see it happening? Yeah, I could. I could see it happening. And that's the type of place as well that he maybe will end up. Yeah,
I'd be in the same boat. I love Kyogo and have loved everything he's done in a Celtic shirt. He's been such a standout over the last 3.5 seasons now. He's not firing on all cylinders right now, but he's such a big player for us, and I'd be loath to leave him, but there might be a daft offer that comes in, and as I say, 30 a week on Monday, maybe the club decide to cash in, and he himself might have ambitions elsewhere. We just need to see, but it would certainly leave us light, and that would be a concern. There's obviously a bit of chat as well around about Johnny Kenny. Gio in the comments has mentioned he'd like to see someone like him coming in. He has been doing well at Shamrock Rovers. He's got a bundle of goals there. He scored Conference League goals, and I think at the very least he's earned a chance to come back to Lennoxtown and impress, and he's been pictured there in training this week. I just don't know. I really don't know. None of us can really know if he'll be at the level, but maybe he'll get his chance, and who knows how that one will play out. But I know there's a raft of subs, as there often is at Celtic around about the hour mark. You see Kyogo coming on alongside Hatate, and it's Adam Maeda and Yang that go off. And then not long after that, Louis Palmer comes on for Luke McCowan. It's obviously Hatate that goes on to get the goal that seals the deal. Had to wait a wee bit longer than we maybe hoped in the 83rd minute. And he continues to bemuse, is that the word? Because he's such a talent. Everyone knows he's a talent, right? That's not a debate. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. But he's maybe not shown it. The real players, the real standouts, what does stand them out from others is consistency. They just do it on a regular basis, and not just game after game, it's season after season. And we are getting a wee bit of mixed performances from Reo just now. His goal's class, and when we get to the detail of it, Paulo Bernardo plays a big part. Louis Palmer plays a notable part as well. But it's all the more frustrating when you see what he's capable of, but maybe doesn't do it often enough at this moment in time.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's certainly this season anyway. I think but how the quality of player that we want and expect to see was the player that came back after that long-term injury, and he came back and helped us win the league when we weren't great without him. And it was almost like, God, we really can't play without Reo. But that's since kind of changed, I think. I think he's now got to prove to us that he's deserving of a starting place. He can do things the other players can't do. That's what probably gets him in a lot of the big games. But what he's now doing is he's kind of showing the manager that he can't necessarily trust that he will perform to that level when he does put him in. And guys like Engels, McCowan and Bernardo are maybe now saying to the gaffer, look, I'll not let you down, and so give me my chance and let me show you I can do it in the big games. Hatate, for me, when he's really on it, and you can tell his pressing and his energy are as good as Kyogo's or Maeda's, and those and McGregor, those hard-working players. For a while there, I mean, I've still got PTSD after watching Hatate's performance at Ibrox. I mean, to see a player who you see as being that level perform as badly as he did. I mean, I know we'll not talk about that game that much, but there's got to be a wee nod to how bad that performance was. I mean, the only person that shook his hand and tapped him in the back was Liam Scales, because it took him at the firing line for a wee minute because he was nearly as bad. But on his day, Reo Hatate is one of the best players in the country, and he's one of the players the top teams across Europe would have been looking at with his performances under Ange, and then obviously into these big performances under Rodgers. They're just not happening enough, and the manager is probably right to start kind of leaving them out a bit more than maybe he wanted to or was going to do. And he needs to find his form. But like every player, we've got to see, maybe he's just, they're all humans after all, and perhaps he is lacking a bit in confidence, perhaps, I don't know. And maybe he does need a wee spell just to come on in the games and do what he done. Because he was very good when he came on last night. You know, he was very good. He was consistent with his passes. And I think he's still there. He don't become a bad player overnight. It's just whether the players around him deserve a chance more than him. Because I was definitely in the Hatate camp over them all. I'm not so sure anymore.
I think for a good while, when I was pinned on it, I was saying that McGregor, Hatate and Engels was the starting midfield three. And I'm the same. I'm not quite sure if I can say that right now with the same confidence, whilst at the same time acknowledging that Hatate does have these real moments in him, and he does things that a lot of players just can't do. I really admire some of the stuff he does, but there's frustration into the bargain. And as I say, his goal was just so well taken. So Palmer crosses with outside his right boot, ends up at the back post where Maeda picks up, puts it back across goal. Bernardo's just so clever and so aware of what's behind him, lets it run through his legs, and Hatate with his weaker left foot smashes it high into the top of the net. It's a really good goal. And for Maeda, actually, it's a goal and an assist on the night, so he's done his job. And then some. Lots of chat in the comments about Arne Engels, and you've touched on him, Brydo, and rightfully so. And there's a comment here from Fred Williams. Fred says Engels will be top man next season by a country mile. I'd push that further and say he might be top man in the second half of this season. I think he's absolutely brimming all of a sudden. I don't think he's ever lacked confidence or belief in his own ability. But I think, as you say, Brydo, 4 man of the matches in a row at Celtic Park. You could argue, I've been there in the stadium and hear the announcements. And a couple of games you'd maybe say, well, it could have been him or it might have been somebody else. But I don't think there's any harm in nudging towards him maybe once or twice. But you can't say he's flicked it 4 times. He's gone and shown everything that he's got about him. And he's playing with a swagger. He's not an arrogant player in terms of, cockiness. It's a very humble guy. You might have seen his post-match with Callum McGregor. He's just a very grounded and decent boy. But he's got a lot to offer. And I think you've seen the amount of efforts he's had from the edge of the box last night. Maybe 3 or 4, decent efforts, and just missing out or taking deflections or fizzing by the post. One of them is going to start getting in, and I think it's just going to unlock, everything else for him. I think he's got so much in his locker, and I think he could be such an important part of the second half of the season. So we'll see how that plays out. Brydo, bigger picture. I put a tweet out last night, so let me see if I can dig it out here. 17 clean sheets in 21 league games for Casper. 4 man of the matches in a row at Celtic Park for Arnie Engels. 16 points clear at the top of the table. Full nostalgic songbook rolled out by the fans. Just give Brendan Rodgers the deal for life now. When you look at it, and there will always be gripes and moans, and sometimes justified, sometimes not in Celtic world. But right now, as we continue in a very busy month of January, things are looking pretty decent, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a great deal more that fans can realistically want. Let's be brutally honest. We've spent a bit of money, which we've all been crying out for. We've spent money in a bracketed player in regards to the Engels 11 million, that we're crying out for. We are rumoured to be getting guys like Tierney in, and whether that happens or not is remain to be seen. But the rumours come from somewhere. The stats, like you've just said there, Schmeichel's introduction, Engels' introduction. I know he had a period there. Bernardo's a cracking young player. They're all players that are at a young age, that are energetic and looking to move on to the next step of their career, which is with us first, and then maybe look to go on. I just think, and I actually think that the football, I know I've not had like full 90 minutes matches where we've kind of performed that way. Leipzig would be that one, Aberdeen semi-final would be another one, even maybe Rangers at home, I don't know. But I just think that the players are doing what they need to do to get the results. And we're not just like, they're not 1-0s. I mean, was that 4-0, 4-0, 3-0 and 2-0 or something? That the last,
exactly
whatever it was, with the exception, obviously, the Rangers defeat. But before that, but sport is, you're not meant to win every game. We're not meant to do that. I know Celtic fans would find that really difficult to concede, but sometimes the furore around us as a club is just so, it's all passion. It all comes from a good place. I mean, it comes because people we genuinely care. Like, we genuinely care about Celtic. But brought up that way, our dads were probably the same. I mean, like absolute lunatics when it comes to watching Celtic and talking about Celtic, and it's every single day you're regurgitating stuff or listening to stuff or watching stuff or talking to each other. So I get it, man. I get that people can, we lose a game against Rangers and it's all of a sudden we need 5 players. Well, the stats tell us different. The numbers in the league tell us different. We're breaking records for what we've done in 2024. I think the performances and the goals and the clean sheets, and we're saying a guy like Schmeichel and goal that we were worried about losing Joe Hart. We've upgraded there. So I think the money in the bank, even, I know people like say the money in the bank's no use if we're not spending it on players. That's fair dues, but it gives us all a sound we can sleep at night because our club's not scrambling around trying to find pounds and pence. So across the board, I think we've touched on it in a podcast last year. Perhaps maybe we want to see some young players come from an academy that can impact the game. But see, with the exception of that, I don't think we can do a great deal more. I honestly don't think that we can do a great deal more. And I know some performances can be better on the eye, but when you're walking away winning 3 or 4-0, and people are saying we didn't play that well, that's also down to the teams that we're playing against being terrified of us and sticking 11 men behind the ball. So, yeah, and there's times we can move it quicker, and there's times we can play it forward, all that. We know that. But on the whole, I don't think we can be anything other than delightfully pleased regarding where we are right now, and look across the road at your neighbours and see how bad it is across there. It's always raining there. It's always freezing. Minus 16 at the minute, I believe, Tino.
Correct. No, you're spot on, Brydo. And I think, as I mentioned, I was chatting to Gio earlier on, and we were talking about Brendan Rodgers and how he responded to things in recent days. And ultimately, Celtic it's just such an emotional thing for most, if not all of us. I would argue that everyone's that's watching or listening right now can certainly vouch for myself and yourself, Brydo, and Gio from chatting to him today. It's just one of those things. It's not a Celtic are playing today, and we'll focus on Celtic on a Saturday or a Wednesday. There's a whole lot more to it, and for some really deep-rooted reasons for a lot of us in terms of how you're brought up into Celtic and all these kind of things. So of course you're going to get emotional at times, and of course, dare I say, myself absolutely included, you're going to get irrational at times. it's just the way it goes. It's just the joy of supporting Celtic and following this team. Brydo, before I get to your final comments, hello and thanks to Sean Boost. Sean's just become a YouTube member. And let me see. Yep, Sean's saying there that I thought I'd get rid of him. Yep, potentially. But good to see Sean back here, as well as Eugene. If I can get Eugene's details. Eugene, glad you get sorted. Great to have your support here on the channel. Brydo, that was the third of 9 games that Celtic will play in January. I've mentioned on several occasions now the importance, of course, of the 2 Champions League games, but specifically the Young Boys game. We're hoping that we get the job done there, and the Villa game will be what it is. But it's such a relentless schedule just now, and you'd be inclined to agree, I think, that by and large, Celtic are managing this schedule really well. Yes, very disappointed in the 2nd of January. It happens. You pick yourself up, dust yourself down, and you move on. So your thoughts at the moment, as I say, we're 3 games out of a relentless 9 in January. What do you think of it all?
Yeah, like I'll reiterate what I said there. I think we're in a really, really great spot, and that's not by accident. It's not by accident that our players aren't injured all the time. We're rotating the squad. We're not, Kuhn and Maeda maybe playing more minutes than most because we don't really have that quality to replace them. So hopefully the guys in the recruitment team have got that, and the manager knows that, and they do what they've done with the other positions and strengthen there. But I just think that there's competition for places, which is brewing good performances from individuals. When they're not playing well, they're getting taken out. When they're playing well, they're still getting taken out to give them a rest. And that, like I said, it's not by accident. It's very deliberate in the professionalism of the club as a whole. And that's why we find ourselves so far ahead. It's because of the work, the hard work. The manager and the captain say it all the time. The professionalism behind the scenes, day to day, they turn up and they do their job. And it's not just the players, it's the recruitment team, it's the scouts, it's dare I say it, it's the sports science team, Tino, that are doing well. So yeah. It's very much a collective. I think the manager needs to take great credit in that too. When he's came in, he's not really came with like a crazy team of his own. And I think he's came in and the first year and he's adapted it now. And I'm very much playing a Brendan Rodgers style of football that does have clean sheets, but at the same time, there's a lot of goals. And quite frankly, I have nothing but optimism for all the competitions. But the Young Boys game, as you said, if Kuhn's fit, and I think it's a real big factor, if he's fit, then I'm even more confident, clearly. But if he's not, then I may be concerned because we just don't have that same level to disrupt teams at that stage. So, but where we are is great. It's a great win against a good, well-organised side in Jim Goodwin's Dundee United, and they're having a good season too. So we are where we deserve to be, and that is high-flying, and nobody's catching us.
Not at all. Domestically, we're cooking with gas, Brydo, and as we've covered, lots to be excited about in terms of what Europe may still hold for us this season. It's a couple of weeks away before that Young Boys game, and that's a massive one to look forward to. Brydo, to wrap up the show, I'll finish on a comment from Fred Williams. He said, me agreeing with you at the start of the show doesn't constitute whether I'm officially on or off the Yang love bus. And he's obviously looking for my comments. He knows the answer. Fred knows that I'm on that bus until I'm off it. So we'll see what happens with Yang. We'll see how that plays out in time ahead. Brydo, thanks for joining us here on a Thursday night. Thanks to everyone who continues to listen and support the Celtic Exchange podcast. Be sure to check out the show notes for further ways you can support us in 2025. We'll be back again tomorrow, quite sharpish. Myself and Brydo will be live at 12 o'clock here, doing the preview for the Ross County game. We're both going up to Dingwall, so looking forward to that one. So in the meantime, go and get your Dundee scarf on, Brydo. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday night, and we'll catch everyone again very soon. Gio, if I don't speak to you, enjoy your holiday. Take care, everyone.